The biggest car companies in America have decided you shouldn't be allowed to fix your own car anymore.
Imagine going to prison for fixing your own truck. That's something that automakers are pushing politicians, and they want to outlaw independent mechanics and you being able to work on your own truck. Yesterday, CEO Ford met with President Trump to complain that automakers are losing money because independent mechanics are working on cars. They want to make it a law where people can no longer fix their own cars. This is my car. I own it. I can work on it if I want to. If I want to go sit there and take this grill off myself and fix it myself, I should be able to do so. If I want to do a transmission job and I know how to do so, I should be allowed to. Now we want to basically do everything where big corporations control everything.
He's not exaggerating. Ford's CEO literally met with the President of the United States earlier this year to argue that too many Americans are fixing their own trucks. That is a real meeting that happened at the White House, and here's what happened when a reporter caught the CEO of Ford on his way out and asked him about it.
But you don't want people repairing their own vehicles.
No, that's fine. Not for warranty work, though. These are very complicated cars, and we don't think that's safe for many of the repairs on our vehicles. Someone at home like myself could never do it. I mean, I have no problem working on a 73 Bronco. To work on a brand new Bronco, I need all sorts of specialty tools. That's something that we would put people's lives at risk.
On national television, Ford's CEO said he can't fix a new Ford. He's the head of the same company that puts the badge on every truck and oversees the engineers who built them. His argument is that cars have become too complicated for regular people to repair and that Congress should stop them from trying. What he didn't mention is that this complexity isn't an accident. Ford engineered it that way on purpose, and here's exactly how they did it. Every important electronic part on a modern car now has a cryptographic serial number. It's called parts pairing. If you take a working headlight assembly out of an identical junkyard car and bolt it onto yours, the car will refuse to turn it on. Not because the part is broken, because the numbers don't match. Try it with a used engine control module on a 2026 Silverado and the truck won't even start. A junkyard part that costs $105 is now legally useless unless a GM dealership with a $3,000 proprietary computer connects to GM's cloud servers and grants the used part permission to work. Every major automaker runs a version of this now. Stellantis, Nissan, Mercedes, and Ford all have their own.
Look, man, if you guys are considering being a mechanic, don't. This is one of the most intense, and like the amount of tools required, the amount of investment required, the amount of training required. It beats up on your body. You're 30 feeling like 70. Your hands are all beat up every day. It's a thankless job. You're underappreciated, severely underpaid.
This is not just happening to major parts. Consumer level extraction is running on plastic clips and light switches. Watch what happens when a customer breaks a 50-cent piece of trim on the door of his 2023 truck.
So I'm installing a camera system and I messed up. Somehow I got myself locked. So basically the door was shut. I pulled on it really hard. Door opens. But as you can tell, I broke this. Just a little plastic piece, I broke it. I mean, no biggie. I'll look online. Can't find it. I understand it's a newer car. This is 23. It's called the dealer. So the guy on the phone he spent like 10 minutes. He actually had to call me back. Calls me back and says, actually, we can't just get the door handle. I'm like, what do you mean you can't just get the door handle? You have to order the entire door panel. He even said it comes with a new window switch. And then I realized, because I took the dang thing back off, he's not kidding. They've molded the plastic around it. You cannot get this off. You cannot get that out. I get, like, this should never break, right? But how many times have you placed a window switch in a car? It gets wet with water. What are you going to tell me I need a whole new door panel? It's only a cool $525.
That's the small version of the scam. Here is the bigger version. In 1990, the government made every car built after 1996 carry a standard diagnostic port under the dash, so any mechanic could plug in and see what was wrong. That port is still there today. It also does almost nothing useful anymore. Automakers built a digital firewall behind it called a secure gateway module. An independent mechanic plugs in a normal scanner and gets read-only garbage. To do a real repair, the shop has to register with a service called AutoAuth. Ford charges up to $1,595 a year through their FDRS system. Toyota charges $1,500 through TIS. A small shop that services Ford, GM, Toyota, Stellantis, and European brands is paying over $10,000 a year in software licensing before they turn a single wrench. That cost does not stay with the shop. It gets added to your bill, and even after paying it, this is what a routine repair looks like now.
This car has a nail in its driver's side rear tire, but you look on the dash, driver assistance warnings, parking brake warnings, stabilization faults. This thing has 30 hard faults set in this car because of the tire pressure sensor. Now, you'd think you'd be able to pull this car in, take the nail out, put a plug in, and send it on its way. No, you have to do that and scan the car, erase all the faults, do a drive to readapt, all for a half hour.
30 error codes just to fix a nail in a tire. That doesn't just make repairs more expensive for you, it also changes how mechanics get paid, and that's where things get even worse.
Mechanics are not paid what the door rate is. We absolutely aren't. And if anything, the higher the door rate goes, our wages stay the same. So the door rate's been going up and up and up, and our pay has been staying the same for almost 40 years. When I first got in, my teacher said it was supposed to be 33% of the door rate. We're not even at 20% anymore.
We have a Ford Escape, right? And the Ford Escape, the water pump goes bad in the Ford Escape, okay? Ford made the car. Ford made it. They're the ones who produced the vehicle with the failure, okay? And here's what happens is, let's say that water pump takes 2 hours to replace. Ford expects all their technicians to replace that water pump for an hour or less. But the only one that takes the hit in this whole equation is the technician. The salesperson, they get their same rate. The parts people get their same rate. The guy on the line that produces the car gets his hourly rate. The technician is supposed to suck that up and get that water pump done in half the time for half the pay.
Ford builds the car with a defect, writes the warranty schedule, and decides a repair pays 2 hours when it actually takes 6. Everyone else gets paid for the time they work. The salesperson, the parts counter, the assembly line. The only person expected to eat the cost is the technician fixing Ford's mistake. And here's the number that made me sit up. You pay the shop $175 to $200 an hour in labor. The technician doing the work sees $20 to $24 of it. Everyone keeps saying there's a technician shortage. There isn't. Nobody in their right mind is walking into this trade in 2026. The problem got so bad that independent repair shops, consumer groups, and mechanics pushed Congress to step in. In February 2025, a bipartisan bill called the Repair Act was introduced by Representative Neil Dunn of Florida and Representative Marie Gluesenkamp Perez of Washington. It would have banned parts pairing, forced automakers to open the diagnostic gate, and let independent shops back into the fight. In February 2026, it cleared its first committee. Everyone celebrated. 3 months later, the same committee killed it and passed a substitute called HR 7389 that took the Repair Act's name and stripped out every part with teeth. The substitute codified a 2014 industry handshake deal from before wireless car data existed and buried the actual Repair Act. That is the federal fight in one paragraph, ending exactly the way Ford's CEO wanted it to. So states started fighting back on their own. In 2020, Massachusetts voters overwhelmingly passed a right to repair law, and the auto industry immediately sued to stop it. That legal battle dragged on for years, but while lawyers argued in court, Subaru showed customers what the fight looked like in the real world.
Tell me if I'm getting this right. So there are now laws against fixing your own vehicle. Manufacturers are now blocking the data needed for you to repair your vehicle. There's quite literally a Repair Act happening. Prevents the manufacturers from controlling the data needed that you would need in order to fix your vehicle. So what is that? That means if you are mechanically inclined, you are no longer allowed to fix your own vehicle. You would have to return to the manufacturer in order to have your vehicle repaired. So the small guys, like small town body shops, if you're mechanically inclined and you know how to fix whatever in your vehicle, you can't do that anymore because now they're blocking the data so that you cannot do it. In what world is this the land of the free and you're not even able to fix your own property?
Rather than share the required data, Subaru just turned off the connected car feature on every new car sold in Massachusetts. A Subaru owner in Boston lost remote start, emergency crash response, and the ability to check their car from their phone. The exact same car, sold 20 minutes across the Rhode Island state line, came with all of it working. Subaru's own dealers were furious. Subaru wasn't the end of it. In Maine, the auto lobby fought the law in court while also trying to rewrite it through the legislature. In early 2026, they advanced a bill called LD 1228 that would have handed much of the repair data system back to the manufacturers. Governor Janet Mills vetoed it, warning it would undermine the law Maine voters had already approved. The House voted to override her veto by just 3 votes, but the Senate rejected the final override 24-10 after hundreds of independent shop owners drove to the Capitol to make their case. And here's the part that never comes up in any of these court fights. The exact same automakers arguing that mechanic data access is a security threat are quietly selling driving data to insurance companies for hundreds of millions of dollars a year. The FTC has publicly said there is no evidence independent shops handle data worse than dealerships. The lobby has never produced any either. The security argument is a story. The revenue is the reason. The White House even announced it had solved the problem.
Mr. President, this is a presidential memo to the Environmental Protection Agency, a presidential memo supporting the freedom to fix. Americans have the freedom to fix their vehicle. President Trump insists upon it.
Except that's not what actually happened. The memo covered exactly one category of parts, and that's emissions components like catalytic converters and oxygen sensors, which Americans have been legally allowed to replace since the Clean Air Act of 1990. It does nothing to unlock transmissions, brake modules, airbags, or any electronic component tied to a paired serial number. Instead, it gave consumers back rights they already had, while the actual Right to Repair Act was being buried in committee just down the hall.
Hey, I just bought a brand new Mercedes EQE, and I can't figure out how to get under the hood. I looked everywhere, but I can't find a latch anywhere. Am I missing something? You're not missing anything. The hood on those cars just doesn't open. The hood doesn't open? Well, technically it does open, but just not for you. You need a Mercedes-specific computer at a dealership to get the thing open. But I own the car. You own the car. You don't own access to what's in it anymore. Why even add a hood that can be opened if I can't open it? It's for the technician working on the car. You take it to a Mercedes dealer, they plug in their fancy computer, and then they run diagnostics and turn off the safety systems and allows the trunk to open. So every time I need to look under the hood, I have to go to a Mercedes dealership now? Every time, yes. It's insane. I paid $100,000 for this car.
In 2026, what you actually own when you buy a car is the physical shape of one. Everything that makes it work is licensed back to you by the manufacturer, one gatekeeper at a time. And the industry just spent the last 12 months in Washington making sure that stays true for the next decade.